Welcome back to another special episode of the Cousin Caesar Show, another bonus episode, which means I'm with another uh, comic creator, but this time it's going to be a little different. We are not really focusing on his quote unquote book at the moment, but he is here going to help us out, explain kind of how the bread is made of comics in the sense of, but yes, like the idea of, for me in particular, because clearly I'm not an artist, so I'm in the same kind of play field as my guest today. We have the author of Black Cotton and multiple different comics out there, but obviously Black Cotton's the one hitting the shelves right now. Hit issue 2 out. Issue 3 is going to be out in probably 2 weeks. In my head of doing math and while we're recording, but yeah, I have Mr. Brian Hawkins with me. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. It's so awesome. It's dope.
But yes, we're getting into today of, I really like to know like some of like key points as a writer that maybe I'm missing, or the idea of how to structure and do stuff for a comic book compared to, like, of course, like, a novel is simple in the sense of you could do that. You're also you already know when you're writing a novel, you're describing like feelings. You're also describing, could be in the fucking weather. You know what I'm saying? But the idea of with comics where there's a spots for scripting. There's also spots for notes for the artist. So we both on the same page.
Right.
But yeah, so I even do this. I have a little phrase I got from while I was waiting for us to get this recording a couple weeks ago. This is from Rom V. He just tweeted this out. He's thinking about narrative structures in comics and TV as episodic entities. Front loading versus slow burn, narrative building versus narrative sustaining. I think there's something interesting there which I cannot yet articulate about trust, length of story, release format, and longevity.
Yeah. Ram V is, from what I can gather in tweets and reading some of his work, he's a philosopher of storytelling. So I like to read his tweets. He inspires me.
He is, for a man who every top of the month he goes, here's my books, and he has 9 books out at I'm like, even
gotta listen to him.
Yeah,
so I'm like, okay, what are you saying now? Let me listen.
Yes.
No, it's cool. I firmly believe in sitting at the feet of masters, if that makes sense. It was this thing where early on with education and learning, going way back into ancient times, antiquity, right? It was this thing of sitting at the feet of those who already knew. And it was more discourse about, them imparting wisdom and you asking questions and you absorbing and taking it in. So, a lot of times on Twitter and social media, even reading like other writers' works and looking at what other artists are doing as they bring stories to life, I feel like that's what I'm doing. And I'm trying to do that all the time, one, as an engaged reader and just enjoying it, but also, part of my enjoyment is learning. So while I'm just enjoying it and liking the story, I'm also absorbing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and it goes into the idea of, I've learned from all the interviews I've done, it sounds like you just have to hit the ground running if you want to get into comics.
Yes, there's a lot of proactivity, I think. There's a lot of, it's kind of a hindsight. I would say it's kind of a balance of building towards something, but at the same time, pushing out, what it is that you're building. Right. Like everything can't be done at once. And I think that's, if you're a person who wants instant gratification, then, you're potentially going to struggle with being a comic book creator, because there's no instant gratification. Everything's a process. Everything's a collaborative effort, and it's going to take patience. It's going to take, that willingness to build something. So you have to become a builder.
When you're in the writing desk idea, because of course I'm totally understanding like the idea of like things change, ideas change even during after you meet your team if you find an artist and stuff. But how much of the story should be already in like stapled spots of your stuff before like you even go looking for an artist? Like do you say I got enough for book one with the outlining of like a series, or like how do you aim of like how do you tell if like should a super we'll just use that example, should a superhero one be a front loading informational dump, should it be a savory, we're going to get at least maybe on issue 3 we'll actually give you something we were talking about in issue 1, like how do you, like what are some of the ways how do you cook your bread?
How do I cook my bread? Bake it slow. No, so I'm really, I want to say I'm really big on intuition, but I don't want to delve too much into that because I feel like intuition is then like it's not like an answer. So I'll start with, you do have to kind of have a feel for the story that you want to tell. And I think that's, there's something in there that's intangible, that's a part of intuition. And it kind of does have to lead you. The practical parts of that is that you then have to kind of give that feeling, that idea of form. And the form comes in how do you want to structure it? And the structure of it actually plays into your intuition about it. So is it a linear story? Is it a non-linear story? Is it front loading? Is it origin? Is it jumping into action and then I'm having cutscenes? Like that's part of your structure. And depending on your feeling of the story, it affects your structure, because your structure ultimately is what the reader's going to get, is what they're going to see, is what they're going to experience. And in order for them to experience is really about feeling. It's about emotion. It's about being carried along the way. So you have to create your structure to where it allows for your readers to experience what it is that you want them to experience. So if you you kind of have to imagine like you opening that book, right? And if you're opening that comic, what is the first thing that they see? What is that experience? What experience do you want them to have on that page? Which affects your paneling. Like, you just can't throw 5 panels on there and say, because I want 5 panels. You have to imagine and figure out, how that reader's eye is going to move down across and down that page. Is it 2 panels? Is it 4 panels? Why is it 2 or why is it 4? Which then comes to is it a splash page, et cetera, et cetera. So everything is very much like what I would imagine a director, like for a film or TV, will go through, where this shot, why do you want this shot right here? This shot has to tell a story. And all a movie or a show is a bunch of shots, that's put together, that's stringed together to show motion. And that's, the only thing that's not happening in a comic book is, it's not actual like a moving picture, but it's still those shots.
Yeah.
You can get the reader's mind to flow with those shots if you structure it the right way.
Okay. If let's also take a step back for what is let's say for, cause I know that the major companies now are kind of aiming towards like the 25, maybe 22 page books. Like for an indie comic, what's like a sweet spot of pages? And then also what is like a standard amount of panels that doesn't feel too, of course, like I'm not trying to like flood the whole one page. I know there's splash pages. We can, like you said, there's 2, you can go down even just having 2 panels. You can have a 2 page, which is a splash page art. But the idea of like let's just take it back for the listener of like, what is like a good standard page amount?
So that page amount is 5 to 7. Like 5 to 7 is like standard.
For panels.
Normally, you don't want to go below 5.
For panels.
5 to 7 panels.
Okay, just make it because yes.
Right. Panels. Right. And so the page, of course, is like normally 22 to 24. It's kind of being accepted 20 to 22, 20 to 24. But going to the panels, 5 to 7, if you're going to go below 5, there has to be reason. There has to be cause. If you're going to go above 7, has to be reason, has to be cause. You're doing something with the pacing of that story. If you're going beyond the page of 24, it's because you have to understand that you're purposely now trying to give the reader a longer experience. And that also should be by design of the story. It should not be because like you got long-winded on your dialogue, or everything has to be crafted towards a purpose, if that makes sense. Yes. So even with indie, it's still 5 to 7. And indie, I think more so, because it's it's your product. If you want it to be a 44-page issue, it can be a 44-page issue. Or if because it's your creator-owned thing. Whereas with freelance or something, most publishers have a set number that they want you to hit, or a set range. Yeah. Which factors into how they're going to distribute, how they're going to, put the book out with cost and distribution and everything else.
Yeah. Also for listeners, that's why also Brian's great for this, because he's also done like freelance work for like Zeniscope and all that stuff. That's why he has his own independent stuff. Plus also he is in that junction of knowing like the panels that I'm trying to get to and stuff to understand. So that's what I was talking about. Cause like, even for my thoughts, of course, I'm still working on, I guess, layout of my thoughts of like how I want it. Nothing involving what is spoken, just about the feel and like the background. Cause we're going to discuss that too. I'm actually going to tell you my dream of like, because also it's on recording so I can keep it. If you took it from me, if anything,
say let's. I would never do that.
Well, I was going to say, you can say, want to come for the ride? I'm like, okay, no problem. But no, because that's where I'm kind of get into like, okay, so the writer, how much, so does the writer take care of almost every, how would I say it? The foundations of the whole book, in the sense of like how, I even saved a piece, this week's newest comic, The Blue Flame, the author screen shared his like the first maybe chunk of his script, and explained how he asked for this out of this world atmospheric picture and like a small blue light, you know what I mean? And they just showed it, and like it's very interesting to see like he put that much critique into his thoughts on the book. Like, is that where I have to catch on? Like, you have to put a lot of the thoughts that are going into this book, or is there a lot more chances for me to go into like a team and like we'll bounce ideas?
Unfortunately, I think I'm gonna have to answer this with like in the ambiguous way. It can go either way. Honestly, it really depends on your creative team. Like if you are collaborating, where you and the artist you own this together, and artists, you guys have decided that we're going to build this story together. Then it becomes more about you guys structuring out, a lot of the pre-writing process might involve the artist as well, and some maybe some of the scripting, but normally it's like, okay, here's the story's going to be, let's write out the overall story, let's outline the story, then you're going to focus on actual scripting of it, and you're going to know that you're going to, based off that relationship with the artist, that collaboration, you'll know like how much you need to put in that script. Okay. However, you could have, the situation where the collaboration is based off of the artist will bring to life, what you're right. Maybe you guys have talked about the story, but still, it's going to be your job, your role to write it. It's your job to script it. It's your job to put it on this page for the artist to then take it and then get into his or her creative process, and then do what they do. It really depends on what your teaming system is.
Yeah.
So for me, based on me personally, like based off of the story, I tend to kind of write in the middle, write the balance to where my narrative, which is within the paneling description, does, multiple things. It tells a story, but while at the same time, it provides the visuals, while at the same time, it also provides direction for the artist. But within the direction, I try to write to allow room for the artist to do his or her or their thing.
Yeah.
So that's the unique thing about comic book writing, and comic book creation, which is separate, of course, from prose, and I'll even say it's separate from like TV and film scripting, is because you're accounting for not just your view of the story, but you have to account for what the artist will get from the page, but then you have to also account for what the reader will get from that page after it's gone through art. So this is kind of like tertiary tri-level thing that's happening. I feel like I kind of like rambled a little bit there.
No,
I'm not sure if I got to your question.
No, because it's as simple as you said it. It's not a straightforward answer. There's a lot of ways to cook this bird, and there's a lot of ways to get this thing actually to even. I don't want to use the word compromise, but the idea of there are things that you might have set in your own little echo chamber that when you get to talk with an artist and he says, just maybe he got into the thing too. He's like, man, I was thinking that actually we might go this route with this guy's like point of view of like the shot. It might work out. So there's a lot of things in that in particular of how you explained it. My question is though also is, let's say for someone who doesn't maybe, because of course Kickstarter does help with this financial thing. I'm trying to say is, would it be better for somebody with not that much income pie get an artist to jump on to be part of the creating team so that they get a piece, they're in for the prize and with the money too?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to, again, I hate to be ambiguous, but I think it's really going to depend on what the artist is looking for. If the artist is looking for like, I want to work and I want to be paid for my work.
Yeah.
I want to be able to have both of those, then it might be more of a thing where, I want to be paid up front. Like I want some guarantee. You might have someone who might see the value in the story to say, okay, well, let's see what we can do with the Kickstarter, and I'll get this on the back end, along with you. So long I get X amount, from how much is pledged. It really depends on the artist. It depends on the goal that you have set, not just the financial goal, but like the goal in having it produced.
Yeah.
And it really comes down to a conversation. Just straightforward, open conversation, which really is, begins the process of that collaboration.
What is without again, don't have to bring out the receipts, but like what is like a general commission sense of like a artist to work on for your book? Let's say we're doing, like I said, 24 pages. What is it usually for an artist to be the pencil person of that? Like how much is that usually?
So like I've kind of looked this up online, like throughout the years, and it kind of changes this a little bit. I want to say like that, and it does fluctuate still
Yeah.
now. It just depends on what the artist wants and who you run into, who you find. But like pencils and inks, it's a lot of time pencils and inks kind of go together nowadays.
Yeah.
A lot. I mean, I find that there's several artists who are doing their the pencils and inks, or it's more about the digital, and so it kind of all goes together. Can range from I think minimum maybe like 60,
A page.
um, 60 a
Okay.
page to maybe like 80, 85. There could be like 100,
Yeah.
but I think 60 to 85 is for an independent creator who is a good range.
Yeah.
And
No,
then of course
because
you got the factor in color too. So
right. No, exactly. I just because that's just things like about thoughts of like I could I could sit here all day or at just want to write my own thing, but then also then I'm like, where does the money go? Like, okay, kind of, and also how would I correct how I say it? Of course, you don't want to be. I don't want to go in blind, be bamboozled of like the idea.
yeah.
Yeah, someone goes, yeah, I do $75 a page, bud. I'll get you good, and then all he does was the inks, and then I still got to go find a colorist for that was just a curious question for
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
piece of the keep the thoughts in my head. And then no, it's very interesting. And I also have been really digging conversating with I know you do it too, but these Kickstarter groups and authors that are on that, which is it's very cool. And also seeing like the goal of like, yeah, we need this much we're only working on 2 books, you know what I mean? And then they do another one for uh, issue 3 and 4 and all that stuff. It's just very interesting to see. And some of them blow out the water. They go past those stretch goals and they can,
Oh yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
and I'm really
It's
happy to hear
insane.
like Kickstarter is a live and well on the comic book side of the things.
Absolutely. I agree with you completely. Kickstarter is a viable, awesome platform for creators. And I mean creators in all forms, but speaking specifically with comic book creation, it's become a thing. It's become such a thing that you have mainstream companies who kickstart, right? And they do so um, because one, it's it's cutting out. I mean, it is. It's cutting out a middleman. There's more control, and you're dealing with your consumers, your readers, your fan base directly, and you're able to provide certain things directly to them that normally they would not. If you just go to a store, you might not get. So it comes down to, and I'll be honest with you. It was a piece of advice that a comic book writer creator gave me a long time ago. And you may know his name, Bob Sally. Bob Sally said a long time ago. He said, with Kickstarters, you want to create an experience. I'll never forget him saying that. And it's kind of it's about it really is about creating that experience directly with your fan base to where your readership where they're with you on this journey of creating, and the more ways that you can come up with how they're with you on this journey, the better experience it is. And I think Kickstarter offers that uniquely to where like people are on this journey with you, which is why I mean, let's be honest, which is why people will pay 10, I'm saying pay, it's pledge, but it's still pay
Yeah.
10, $15 for a single issue book on Kickstarter. But necessarily, maybe they won't pay $15 for a book that's in the store. Why is that? It's because the Kickstarter platform offers this different idea, this different experience. And comic book readers and consumers and collectors have bought into that idea. So it's a very unique, awesome platform. In that sense,
Kickstarter is definitely the feeling of, it's like that. It's a cheesy way I'm going to say it, but it's like that American dream feel of like you are literally watching the little guy succeed
yeah,
and
absolutely.
go over and over, and also judging by the other all the great writers I've talked to, it is definitely also Kickstarter is like almost better that it's like their YouTube. It becomes like where you get fans, they follow you even to like they get into even your situation. You know what I mean? Like the idea of like you've had Kickstarters, but then they'll
Mm-hmm.
follow you. They'll follow you to Scout. They'll also follow you.
Yeah, yeah.
I know I can't remember offhand, so please excuse me. But I know you do editings for Mad Cave, but I'm assuming you probably
Yes.
have a book and shit through Mad Cave. You know what I mean? They follow you.
Yeah. I mean, I've never written a Mad Cave book, but I am the editor, and so I've gotten to just work with some great creative teams.
Oh, this is bad motherfucker right here. Yeah, I got that nodding head.
Oh yeah! Shout out to the whole team: David, Shane, Luca, Justin.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you want to hear off topic, if you want to hear,
not. Wait, I'm sorry, not Justin on that one. That was
David
Joanna.
Hazan. And then
Yeah.
no, if you want to talk about lighting in the bottle, woo, that one is hitting like
that one is it's on fire.
That's crazy. But no,
that one's on fire.
I digress on that. But no,
I love that. I love straight up. I'm a fan. Like I was fortunate to be the editor on that, but I am a fan of that story. That thing, I remember when I first read issue 1 script. I will never forget it. I was like, it took me a second. It took me a second to realize what was happening because I was expecting Robin. I was expecting Robin the whole way, and so I'm 8 pages in on the script, and I said, "Oh my goodness, this is told through the sheriff," and I was done. I'll never forget it. Like my body actually stopped. I was like, oh, "This is told through the sheriff's point of view." Oh my goodness, what's going to happen? So yeah, it's genius.
No, and then it's very good, and also like that goes into also the other idea I was wondering about. If you in this situation, what would be the best route to do? Would you, if let's say you're in, we'll say in my shoes, would you have probably rather aim for like the Kickstarter of like maybe saying you're trying to pledge at least one book 1 and 2 of your little, say you have thoughts like I want to do 4 books, but here's the pledge for 1 and 2. Would that be the best route?
I'm trying to figure this out. Hang on. I would say if this is your first Kickstarter, right? And you're trying to introduce the series, I would definitely say do issue 1. Just one. I mean, get 1 under your belt, because what's going to happen is that you're not going to dot every I and cross every T. Like you're going to go through this first Kickstarter, and not get everything right. There's a learning curve. Even with your second one, there's gonna be a learning curve, right? But that first one, you just need to get under your belt to see how it works, to understand how, like the whole thing that goes along with it. Because it's an experience for the creative, it's an experience for you. And you're gonna find that, for the most part, sometimes, it's like a full-time job. It drains you. And so and you're going to decompress, and then you're going to say, okay, well, this worked, that didn't. And you're going to be able to come back and reconfigure that second Kickstarter, and you're going to want to do different things. But see, that's just like life, right? Like most people anyway, don't just hop on a bike, 2 wheels, and start riding. You have training wheels.
Yeah.
And, and you get the balance, you're still moving forward, but it's just not like you're just not riding on 2 wheels off the bat. Right. And it's okay, not to have every single thing figured out to perfection, because that's not what this life in general is about, but it's not what anything worth building is about. Anything worth building is a process. And the process means you're going to have mistakes. And those mistakes are just going to make you better. The only way that they make you better is if you just have the perspective that I'm going to make mistakes. Let me see what those are and let me better them next time. So get that one under your belt. One goes well, do two. Two goes well. Say, okay, I'm going out for 3 and 4 now. I'm just going to hit 3 and 4 at the same time. But that also goes into how you want your backers and your readers to experience your story. You know, do you want them to experience it in chunks, or do you want them to experience it one by one?
Well, okay, that are very good points, because I was about to reply like, well, I don't even know it goes into that little statement I said at the beginning about with what Ron said. I don't even know what would be best for an issue 1, in the sense of, do I keep them on a slow burn, hopefully they'll come back, or you have to hit them hard. But I think if we're gonna probably do it right now, I'm going to tell you the outline of it, and I don't know if the outline is good enough so that they're like, you gave us a good not info dump, but an info dump of stuff in your Kickstarter / in issue 1 that we are ready, that will follow you for your next time you want us to be there for issue 2. But all right, this is the first time I've told anybody.
Oh, this is gonna be the first time, and it's gonna be, and it's on, like, it's on air.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. This is a big moment. Go ahead.
I've teased it, said that I've been teasing through other writers of like just hearing their thoughts of how to write, of like all that stuff. I said, I'm going to do it with Brian. I'm like,
here we go. I'm excited. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. Because I think it's because of, without knowing the whole backstory, but I know like Black Cotton was someone came with an idea and you were there to help do the structure probably, and also thoughts. So, I mean, you're the guy, I was like, this guy might be my golden ticket.
Okay.
But all right. Again, it ain't going to be a true, but I'm trying to pitch you the idea.
Okay.
And then also, I'm hoping you're here. Maybe you heard this and then you can at least talk me off like, you know what? You're actually saying something that's already out. But I don't know if it is. I'm not. Okay. But I have an idea that basically involves, I'm going to say what I wrote right here, but it can vary on the actual words. A big brother government that actually uses towns for basically fodder. It's to keep the economic global chain cog moving. So like those people in those towns are never set to succeed past a certain line of value. So, but then it goes into like that just die and never able to make history or change their family's generational wealth. They are set. There's things in power with the big brother system you don't even know. Like, for example, which will be probably the protagonist, like a kid's family runs a restaurant and he lives in, and he has never seen anything come into the home like as in profit more than, just to keep the lights on. Okay. The closest thing to a successful person was the most popular girl in school, got married in life to a very rich person, but 4 months later, it appears that she had suicide. Okay. The big brother government, also the way of controlling, it'll let you do your like move to different towns, migrate and all that stuff. But you can only do it without knowing. You're not knowing you're doing it, but like you're still in those same like tax brackets. Like you're moving to a different town, but you're still going to do about the same value as you did in your hometown. Even controls your relationships. Like non-toxic relationships can flip overnight just to keep you under the government's thumb, because they want to keep that pressure of like feelings of spiraling, overwhelmed, anxiety, or even anger is things that are controlled. Like it could, I haven't got that part of like figuring out how to do it. Besides, in my head, like, oh, maybe it's you drink tap water. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah.
And that was basically it for the overlay. And then
Okay.
I did have an ending goal. I'm like, the most logical ending I said for me would be probably not to.
Don't tell the ending. Don't tell the ending.
Okay.
No, don't tell the ending. I mean, with people listening, yeah, no. Hold on to the ending.
Okay.
Hold on. Message me the ending. Don't.
Okay.
Yeah, don't put your ending out there because I'm assuming you're going to follow through with this and you're going to make it a story, right?
Maybe I'll probably say 30% not because of just anxiety and stuff of it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Well, in that case, if you want to say the ending, go for it then. I didn't want you, to spoil it for any potential readers, but
I'll put in this while you reply. I'm gonna say I'll type the ending right now in this little chat thing.
Okay, all right.
What do you think of like the overlay things? You're smiling already thinking about it.
Yeah, no, yeah. So I mean, my first thought is like you have set up some incredible obstacles.
Yeah.
In this story, and you have a clear overarching
villain
antagonist, right?
Yep.
My question as we build the story would be, who's your protagonist? Because so one of the things like when I taught, and it's actually the name of my newsletter, like character plus obstacle equals story. And what you have is like, you describe your obstacle.
Yeah.
And you're setting up your story. My question would be, who is your character that has to face that obstacle? Is there one character that's going to go through all these obstacles? Or is it multiple characters?
That is a definite key, because I think in my heart, I would love to do it like in a mixed volume idea. So like volume 1 could be one person's thing. Mm-hmm. Number 2 could be another person with another idea of, because the overlaying thing about it is, to me, is it was a way for me to rewrite my thoughts of depression, personal depression, of course, as you probably can assume by how it sounds. Anxiety, and like the idea is like, what if it's not truly all you? And then for a story wise, like, what if it is some kind of over the thing, like it goes into those thoughts, like probably anybody who listens, like, those thoughts, like you think you're getting some, like you're having a good time, and the next your car broke down. You gotta do like bills and shit.
So you're thinking of more of which is something that I feel like is really becoming more of a thing. So you're thinking of kind of like an anthology book where, like Ice Cream Man, right? Where, you have this one theme that's following through, but it's not really based off like a one set of characters or one character. Well, it's not this character story. It's more of a thematic story in putting different characters within different situations that speak to an overarching like idea of a problem.
My thing is with which gets me into the thought of there might be a fulfillment in the first volume, because obviously it might be, which is not even what I wrote to you. It could just be like the revelation that it's controlled. So then obviously the protagonist can, in the first volume, just break free from the whole grip of this company or actual governmental thing. You know what I mean? That something, the controlling antagonist for, that's the part of like what path to go of thinking. But the reason why I said like that in the sense of, because I compared to comics, I do have a lot more, not like that, but like I'm a TV watcher. So I was like, oh yeah, volume 2 could be somebody else. Volume 3 could be just a person from that works in the branch. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just those little thoughts. I just think, because then also, like I said, with All right. No. And then I'll reread that. I'm gonna write that down too. But no. Sorry for the listeners. He obviously answered. We were trying to keep
Type
it close.
something.
Keep it tight. Keep it tight lipped.
Secrets.
No, but you know what I mean? And then it goes into I have thoughts for the beginning of the book where, like, you know what, we got like a pretty good sounding. Oh yeah, you got a pretty good sounding like of conflict. But like I even thought of like, because of like how depression works, like this, I get real raw and uncut on this shit. But the idea of like depression, of like, what are those weird moments of like you get those flash in the pan thoughts of bad thoughts. I would like an artist to figure out, like, you know, the motherfucker could be brushing his teeth and then he just had the thought and it just goes away. But then, or like those, like the company, I'm going to call it the company right now. The company can like give you schizophrenic thoughts. Like you think like, so like you do that over the shoulder shit all the time. Yeah. It's all part of it. It could be tap water. It could be, it goes into like, this sounds like a conspiracy theory stuff, but you know, it could be just how Wi-Fi works, where everyone's around Wi-Fi. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But yeah, it just have some thoughts. And I just think it would be, I think it also, that's where it gets into, I think I might have a strong 30%. I think it might be good just to be able to write it down and get it off my chest. But of course, I think it would make it like, it's not good to hear that from like a depressed, you know, I could die happy knowing like I got to put it like in a picture, like comic book ideas. Cause also, you know, there's a lot of things to it.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that organizing it, like what I sense is that is vast in your mind. It's vast in your head. And I think that the next step is kind of, and that's what creators and writers do. Like what's in your mind and inside you, it's like space. Yeah. Right? It's almost like it's infinite, right? And then the process is trying to whittle it down into something that is sustainable and something that someone can look at, read, and they can understand this vastness. So I guess my example would be like space, right? Like we don't really understand like all of that is just too much. But if you think about Earth, and you think like Earth is a whittled down version, like it's a composite, it's a representative of this infinite thing that's in space, whatever that is. We're a representative of that. That's kind of like what a story is, where a story is vast in the mind, but then when you put it on page, it becomes this world. So you have to figure out that vast thing that's in your head with this story, with, you know, the Big Brother group, the Big Brother government, you know, the company. How do I bring that into this one story to represent what I'm trying to say, or the ideas I want to be conveyed? Because this goes back to my teaching days. You know, the like author's purpose is, you know, to convey a message. That's it. Every author who writes anything, every creator, it's to convey a message. So whatever your message is, it's all about how you want, you know, whoever, the reader, audience, to get that message. And the simplest form is you take character plus obstacle, and that gives you your story. So it could be 4 issues. It could be 1 issue that's an anthology, like that gets your message there. Whatever it is, it's just from here to there. You know, just hone in on it. And don't overthink it, don't overcomplicate it. Which I think, you know, I think that can happen with creators. You know, we overthink what we're doing because we want it to be a certain thing. We want it to sound a certain way.
Yeah. would you also asking for my own personal, for what I said, do you think I should leave? Should I not invest so much into the company? Like, I think I got a pretty good foundation of like the company, because then it can go into like the heat of the moment. Like, we actually get this, the things rolling. I can make up something at the end. But the idea of like, they just have control. I don't have to put into like how we just discussed. I don't have to really talk about tap water or Wi-Fi right now. Just get like the overwhelming company is controlling somehow. Because in my thoughts would be, this story would probably, you'd start seeing agents in the field. Like, it'd be like, I even thought in my head like a picture, like, those ones like of like the blurry crosswalk, and then you just see a guy that disappears and all that shit. You know what I mean? I have thoughts in my head of like how I would do it, but yeah. Do you think my little pitch right here is not, of course it's not fully fulfilled, but like, is it a little too complex at this moment? Or would you?
No, what, anything that's, I mean, okay, so if you feel it's complex, so it becomes about streamlining, right? And it becomes like, okay, so like, what is, you can even go to like a plot diagram, believe it or not, like where, certain things are supposed to happen in the plot diagram. You have exposition, you have rise in action, you have that high point, which is called climax, you have the falling action, you have the resolution, right? Which isn't the ending, it's just that the resolution, that denouement, I think how it is in French or something like that, is where you, like, the problem is resolved. The initial problem that was put in the exposition is resolved. So the idea is there's three things that definitely have to take place in the beginning. And here's how you can really get the feel for where your story is going. If you're in the exposition, right, and there's three things that have to take place. One, you have to introduce your character.
Yeah.
Two, you have to create a setting, the environment, where are we at, time frame, etc. Because that gives the reader the framework, like they can picture it now. And the third thing that you have to introduce is the obstacle or the problem. Obstacle, problem, same thing. And so by introducing those three things, you now know that through the rise in action, through the high point, which is the climax, through the fall in action, through the resolution, that you're carrying those things until you get to that problem being solved. So, one form of an outline could just be just doing the plot diagram and say, okay, who are my characters? Or, who am I? What is my problem? What am I setting? And then take those things across that plot diagram and see what you come up with.
Okay.
And it's all going to be revolving around what your message is, which I think you have a clear understanding of what your message is.
Okay. No, that's even good. I think I'm going to take all these thoughts, put it down, but I think that's a good way to leave this bad boy.
Oh, cool.
Cool. Of course. Thank you, Brian, for coming on. And of course, tell everybody where we can find you and what you're working on.
All right. Brian Hawkins, Twitter at Brian L. Hawkins, IG, Brian Hawkins Writes, Facebook, Brian Hawkins Writes. I'm working on a book with Zenoscope that hopefully will be out in the fall. It will be my third book with them. I can't say the character. I'm not allowed to. But it'll be my third book with them. I do have a Van Helsing Black Annis book out. You can buy that in stores and online at zenoscope.com, as well as a Dark Watchers featuring Gretel book with Zenoscope, also online and in stores. I have issues 1 through 4 out in stores with Black Box, a title called Devil's Dominion. Issue 5 will be out late June, early July, I believe, which will wrap up volume 1. I have a couple more titles that's going to be coming out with Black Box late fall, going into 2022. I believe 3 more series actually. And
look out, Ram V, that we got a new person with a bunch of fucking books coming.
I'm trying to catch up with Ram V. And of course, Black Cotton issue 3 comes out June 9th, and issue 4 July 14th, and we have issue 5 in August, issue 6 in September, and the trade will be out early January, and I would say volume 2 Black Cotton will be out February 2022.
Hey, that's awesome to hear, because I knew it was up in the air, but I'm glad to hear that you're saying it. So congrats on volume 2, my friend.
Appreciate it.
And then I'm more happy because obviously for our listeners, the last time I got to talk to Brian, we were in that weird limbo. Black Cotton issue 1 was out, but we're still waiting for 2. Yeah. But now we got the train rolling. We got every month. So
every month,
yeah, pick it up. And also all his books. He does some good work. I've also seen multiple people on the internet, which I haven't even tagged him in yet, talk about Devil's Dominions issue 4 this week. So, but yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Shout out to all of the creative teams with Black Cotton and Devil's Dominion, especially Black Cotton, Patrick and Marco and Jerry and Francisco, and Devil's Dominion, Raphael Forte, Sarah, Carolina, Justin. The great thing about comics is that it's a collaborative effort, and there's not just one person doing anything. We all just like pieces of the puzzle. So it's cool to see the final product come to life, and for readers to then be another piece of that puzzle. So
there you go.
Shout out to all of them.
No, and then thank you very much again. And for everyone else, what we say every week, be good to each other. I'll catch you next week. Peace.
Enjoy it. Thank you.